Préférence Nationale, a story written by Fatou Diame, a famous French-Senegalese writer. The story talks about unfair treatment of foreigners in France, especially how people from other countries sometimes face problems getting jobs or rights even when they live there. The author, Fatou Diame, was born in Senegal in 1968. She moved to France and became a writer. Her stories talk about African life, moving to other countries, and feeling left out. She also teaches at a university in France and talks about culture and books on TV. The law changed very quietly, thanks to Mr. Borders. A new law was made quietly, not many people noticed. Mr. Borders represents people who want to keep foreigners out. If you're married to a French citizen, it will now take 2 years for you to claim the benefits of citizenship. If a person from another country marries someone from France, they now have to wait 2 years before becoming a French citizen. By this delay, Mr. Borders is relying on the nature of his countrymen to break up the relationship. This rule is unfair. It hopes that the couple will break up before the foreigner can become a citizen. Then, as the ex-wife of a Frenchman, the foreign woman becomes no more than an ex-object. After the breakup, the woman loses all rights. She is treated like a thing, not a person. And as with any object, she has no rights, not even the right to earn an honest living. Like an object, she cannot work or live freely in France anymore. They won't give me citizenship, but my Senegalese cat has his papers. Perhaps it's because he's ginger. The writer jokes that her cat from Senegal has legal papers, but she doesn't even though she's human. She jokes it might be because the cat is ginger, orange, showing how silly the rules are. Laws only gather pace when ordinary people start applying them. Unfair laws become powerful only when ordinary people follow and support them. Termites can cause the collapse of African mahogany trees, and the size of an anthill depends on the number of worker ants. This means small actions by many people can cause big damage, just like tiny termites can bring down a big tree. It is thus the small employers who make the policy of Préférence Nationale effective. This means that small business owners help make unfair laws real, for example, by refusing to hire foreigners. I was looking for a job in one of the free papers and came across this ad: large bakery in the city center looking for salesgirl. Dialect desirable. Please come to the shop. The writer is looking for a job, and she finds an ad from a bakery that wants a salesgirl who speaks the local dialect, which likely means they prefer a local French person, not a foreigner. I wrote down the address and told a French friend about it on the phone that evening. The writer noted where the bakery was and told her French friend about the job she planned to apply for. "Are you nuts?" she protested. "You could do better than that. I've the same qualifications as you and I'm finishing my teacher training. You'll be bored selling bread and pastries all day." Her friend was surprised and upset, saying that the writer was too educated to work in a bakery. She thought the job was too simple for someone with good qualifications. "I'd be happy to do something else," I replied. "My qualifications may be French, sweetie, but my brain isn't recognized as such, and so is not allowed to function. And in the meantime I have to eat. At least selling bread I won't starve." The writer answers sadly that even though she studied in France, people don't accept her as equal. She says her education and intelligence are ignored because she's a foreigner. She adds that she needs money to live, so she'll take any job she can even if it means selling bread. "But this is ridiculous," she said. "I'm sure you can find something else." Her friend still doesn't understand how hard it is for her to get a job because she's not treated the same as French people. I'd heard such comments 100 times. My French friends had no awareness of what life here was like for me. The writer says she has heard this many times before. Her French friends don't understand what it's like to be a foreigner facing rejection and unfairness. The next morning I went to the bakery. Apart from the chocolate cakes, everything was white. When she visited the bakery, she noticed that everything inside was white: the walls, the bread, the workers, maybe showing that she stood out because of her dark skin. The boss welcomed me with a German moustache, an Alsace accent and a hat in the colors of the French flag. The bakery owner looked very proud of being French, and he spoke with an Alsatian accent, from a French region near Germany. His appearance showed strong national pride. From the way he stared at me, I knew I hadn't made it through the qualifying round. This man didn't like chocolate in the flesh. The boss looked at her in a disapproving way. She could tell that he didn't like people with dark skin, as she jokes that he didn't like chocolate in the flesh, meaning dark-skinned people. I forced myself to smile, and said, "Hello, sir. I've come for the job you advertised." Even though she felt unwelcome, she stayed polite and tried to be friendly when applying for the job. He shook his head, and said, "Oh, speak a little Alsatian, do you?" The boss asked if she could speak the Alsatian dialect, the local language of the area. It's true that the ad had said, dialect desirable, but I'd come with mine, rather than his. She remembers that the job ad wanted someone who spoke a dialect, but she thought her own Senegalese way of speaking would be fine, not his. Now, he was asking me to connect with his clients in Alsatian. So I gave him the reply he was expecting and hoping for, "No, sir." The boss wanted a reason to reject her, and by saying she didn't speak the local dialect, she gave him that excuse. She could tell he never wanted to hire her anyway, because she was not French. I could see the refusal in his muddy-colored eyes. The writer could see in the man's eyes that he was going to say no, he didn't want to hire her. As if to both justify that refusal and humiliate me, he said, "Why don't you go and work in your own country?" The bakery owner tried to defend his rejection by saying something mean and racist. He told her to go back to her own country. Internally, I let loose. "You ought to be asking me why I even want your stinking job. Goodbye, sir." She didn't say this out loud, but in her mind, she was angry and proud. She thought, "Why should I even want your rude job? You have impoverished our African soil by making us grow sugarcane and peanuts for your people." She thinks about how France hurt Africa in the past. They made Africans grow crops for French profit and took their wealth. "You've plundered our resources to enrich your country at our expense." She accuses France of stealing Africa's natural resources and using them to make France rich, while keeping Africa poor. And, to top it all off, you've used my people as cannon fodder in your war. She remembers that African soldiers were forced to fight in France's wars and risk their lives, even though they were not treated equally. A war in which you made them kill in the name of a freedom you refuse them in their own African soil. France claimed to fight for freedom, but then denied that same freedom to Africans in their own countries. This shows deep unfairness and hypocrisy. Still without work, 3 days later, I started looking through the free paper again. 3 days later, she still didn't have a job, so she started searching for new job ads again. A new ad caught my eye. Tutor required for French lessons. Degree essential. Call after 7 p.m. She saw a new job ad asking for a tutor to teach French and it needed someone with a university degree. I took down the number, but this time didn't mention it to my friend. She decided not to tell her friend this time because she didn't want to be judged again. She would have asked me how it had gone at the bakery and wouldn't have believed what I told her. She knew her friend would ask about the bakery job and wouldn't believe how unfairly she had been treated there. At 7:10 p.m. I rang the number. A woman answered. She told me she was a cashier at one of the big Strasbourg supermarkets. She was looking for someone to tutor her 11-year-old daughter. When she called, a woman answered. The woman worked in a supermarket and wanted someone to teach her daughter French. She suggested meeting the following afternoon, in a city center cafe. The woman asked to meet the next day at a cafe in the city center to talk about the job. When I arrived at the cafe it was packed, but Madam had told me she would be wearing a white jersey with blue stripes. I spotted her immediately. The next day, the writer went to the cafe. It was full of people, but she quickly recognized the woman because she was wearing a white shirt with blue stripes, just like she said. I introduced myself and showed her a part of my brain that had been lying dormant in a folder, the famous degree. The writer politely introduced herself and showed her university degree, which had been unused for a long time because no one gave her a proper job. Then the waiter approached in a friendly way and asked. A waiter came over kindly to take their order or talk to them. The meeting was about to begin. "And for you, madam?" The waiter politely asked the woman what she would like to order. I ordered some kind of mocktail, thinking, That's funny when they want to sell something. National preference is nowhere to be seen. The writer ordered a drink and thought it was ironic when people want money from customers. They don't care about where you come from. But when it comes to giving jobs, suddenly they care about nationality. The waiter brought my glass. The waiter gave her the drink she ordered. The woman opposite me examined the piece of paper, then gave it back to me, saying, "I want a European-type person." The woman looked at the writer's degree and rejected her, saying she wanted someone who looked European, not African. Lifting her chin in the air, she added, "I don't want anyone messing up my child's education." The woman was proud and rude, saying she didn't trust the writer to teach her child just because she was black. Madam is French, true, but hasn't even passed her degree and seems to think she could not tutor her daughter herself. The writer points out that the woman isn't well educated herself. She didn't even finish her degree, yet she looks down on someone who did. She is refusing me work on account of my black lips, which can drone the niceties of French grammar better than hers. The writer feels angry and hurt. The woman is rejecting her because of her skin color, even though the writer knows French grammar better than the woman. Pouring mocktail on top of my rage, I stand up and leave her with this parting shot. "Goodbye, madam. If you had what I have between my ears, you wouldn't be working as a supermarket cashier." The writer angrily but cleverly responds, saying that if the woman had the same intelligence and education, she wouldn't still be working as a cashier. "Come back," she cries, "you haven't paid for your drink." The woman shouts because the writer didn't pay for the drink. "No," I say wryly, "the pleasure's all yours, madam. Think of it as travel expenses. Being a cashier, you'll know that everything must be paid for, even the services of coloreds, as you call us." The writer answers sarcastically. She says the drink can be the woman's travel expense for meeting someone different. She also reminds her that racist people should learn that everyone's time and effort has value, no matter their color. I heard the cashier yell, "Go back to your jungle." The woman shouts a racist insult, telling her to go back to Africa, calling it a jungle. My mother-in-law had shouted exactly the same phrase at me. The writer remembers that her French mother-in-law had once insulted her the same way. "You should come with me, for the fresh air in the jungle," I retorted. "It's revitalizing and would save you a facelift." The writer replied sharply that her mother-in-law should visit the jungle herself. The fresh air might make her look younger instead of needing surgery. It's a funny but powerful comeback. She sat there muttering. She was scarlet. The mother-in-law was embarrassed and angry, her face turned red with shame. Inside, I thanked God. Even though she was hurt, the writer felt strong and thankful that she had the courage to stand up for herself and speak the truth. For not afflicting me with that particular mark of embarrassment or anger. The writer thanks God for not making her blush or turn red like the angry woman. She feels calm and proud instead of ashamed. My skin, at least, always keeps its dignity. She says that her dark skin never shows redness, so it always looks strong and dignified, a symbol of her self-respect and pride. Good riddance, madam. This means, I'm glad to be done with you. The writer feels relieved to leave that rude woman behind. That evening I called a friend from college, a real white girl. Later that evening, she called her college friend, who was white and French. She was looking for some part-time work while she did her degree. Her friend needed a small job to earn money while studying at university. I gave her the cashier's number. The writer shared the number of the rude woman who had refused her so her white friend could try for the tutoring job instead. The next evening her happy voice rang out of my answering machine. "Thanks for the tip. I started work for that lady this morning." The next day, her friend left a happy message. She got the job easily, showing how skin color made the difference, not talent. But if you're interested, she has a neighbor who's looking for a cleaner. Her friend added that the woman's neighbor needed a cleaner, offering that job to her another insult, because it showed people thought cleaning was all she was fit for, even with a degree. This ending shows how racism and prejudice work in small, painful ways. The white friend easily gets the job that the writer was rejected for, proving that skin color, not ability, decides chances. Yet, Fatou Diame stays strong, proud, and dignified, refusing to let discrimination take away her self-respect. Now let's discuss textual question and answers. A. What change did Mr. Borders bring to the process of granting French citizenship? He made a new rule that a foreigner married to a French citizen must wait 2 years before becoming a French citizen. This delay made it harder for foreign women to get citizenship. B. My Senegalese cat has his papers. Perhaps it's because he's ginger. Comment on the satire in the statement. The writer jokes that her cat from Senegal has legal papers, but she doesn't. This is satire. She's mocking the unfair system that gives more respect to a cat than to a foreign human being. See, what role do ordinary people play in the enforcement of laws? How does the author establish this? Ordinary people make unfair laws powerful when they follow and support them. The author shows this through the example of small employers who refuse to hire foreigners, making the policy of national preference real. D. What advertisement did the narrator come across in the free papers? She saw an ad that said, "Large bakery in the city center looking for salesgirl. Dialect desirable. Please come to the shop." E. Why did the author's French friend try to discourage her from applying for the job at the bakery? Her friend thought the bakery job was too simple and boring for someone educated like her. She said the author could do better jobs because she was well qualified. F. What were the author's reasons for applying for the job at the bakery? She needed money to survive and said she would take any job to earn a living. She also said that although she had French qualifications, people didn't accept her because she was a foreigner. G. How does the author highlight the racial bias of the owner of the bakery? The bakery owner stared at her coldly and clearly didn't want to hire her because of her dark skin. She writes that he didn't like chocolate in the flesh, showing his racism in a sarcastic way. H. I hadn't made it through the qualifying round. What does the narrator mean by the expression, qualifying round? She means she failed before even getting a chance. The owner rejected her immediately just by looking at her appearance, not her abilities. I. What did the bakery owner demand? He asked if she could speak the Alsatian dialect, a local language, because the ad said, dialect desirable. J. What was the white bakery owner's most humiliating question? He asked her, why don't you go and work in your own country? This was a racist and insulting question meant to reject and humiliate her. K. What did the narrator think when the bakery owner humiliated her? She was angry inside and thought that France had stolen from Africa, taking its land, crops, and people, and now refused to give Africans equal rights. L. What was the second job the narrator applied for? She applied for a job as a French tutor for an 11-year-old girl. O. What does the narrator mean by the words, when it's time to cash up, national preference is nowhere to be seen? She means that when people want money, like selling food or drinks, they don't care about nationality, they'll sell to anyone. But when it comes to jobs or rights, they suddenly care about national preference. P. How does the narrator respond to the cashier's racist comment? When the cashier shouted, "Go back to your jungle," the narrator replied boldly, "You should come with me for the fresh air, it would save you a facelift." Her response showed confidence and wit. She didn't let the insult hurt her. 1. Do you think the new law proposed by Mr. Borders is a violation of human rights? Why? Yes. The new law makes it harder for foreigners to get French citizenship. It is unfair because it treats people differently based on where they come from, not who they are. This goes against human rights, which say everyone should be treated equally. 2. Being a foreigner, the narrator struggles to find work. How does this reflect the challenges of maintaining one's identity in a foreign country? The narrator faces rejection because of her skin color and nationality. Even though she is educated, people only see her as a foreigner. This makes her feel unwanted and challenges her confidence and identity. 3. Why does the narrator feel that her educational qualifications are not recognized? How does this undermine her sense of identity? She has a degree, but people ignore it because she is African. When her hard work and intelligence are not valued, she feels insulted and powerless. It makes her feel invisible and less worthy in society. 4. What does the narrator's encounter with the woman at the cafe tell us about racism and its impact on personal identity? The woman refuses to hire her just because she is black. This shows that racism still exists in everyday life. It hurts the narrator deeply and makes her realize that no matter how talented she is, people still judge her by her skin, not her skills. Though the narrator applied for French citizenship, her application is rejected because of the new policy. Disheartened by this, she decides to write an email to the Senegalese ambassador in France, seeking a solution to the problem. Draft the email. 2. ambassador@senegalembassy.fr. Subject: Request for help regarding my rejected citizenship application. Dear Sir or Madam, I hope you are well. I am a Senegalese citizen living in France. Recently, I applied for French citizenship, but my application was rejected due to the new policy introduced by Mr. Borders. I have been living and working here honestly, and I have tried hard to be part of French society. The new law feels unfair and makes me feel like I do not belong anywhere. I am writing to ask for your advice or support in this matter. Please guide me on what steps I can take next. Thank you for your time and understanding. Sincerely, your name. 2. The narrator felt heartbroken when she was rejected for the position of salesgirl at the bakery. Her spirits sank. She jots down her feelings in her diary after the incident. Write the likely diary entry. Date. Write today's date. Today was one of the hardest days of my life. I went to the bakery full of hope, thinking I might finally get a job. But the owner looked at me with cold eyes and refused to hire me because I am not French. His words still echo in my head, full of insult and pride. I felt so small and unwanted. I have a degree, I can speak French perfectly, yet my skin color closes every door. I came home with tears in my eyes, wondering if I will ever be accepted for who I am. 3. After being denied the tutoring job, the narrator is deeply hurt. She writes a letter to her mother in Senegal narrating the incident, her emotions, and the way repeated experiences of discrimination affect her self-worth and sense of identity. Draft the likely letter. Dear Mama, I miss you and home so much. Life here in France is getting harder every day. Yesterday, I went for a tutoring job. The woman seemed nice at first, but when she saw me, her smile disappeared. She said she wanted a European-type person to teach her daughter. Mama, those words broke my heart. I have studied so much, but none of it seems to matter here. People look at my skin before they see my mind. I try to stay strong, but sometimes I feel tired of fighting to prove my worth. Still, I promise I will not give up. I carry your strength with me always. With love, your daughter.